Up next on Inside ChampCar, racing at Watkins Glen. Welcome to Inside ChampCar. He's Bill Strong. I'm Brian Molansky. This week on the show, taking a look at what's coming up at the Watkins Glen in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of upper state New York, as my mom would say, upper state New York instead of upstate New York. We'll also recap the ChampCar board meeting, and we'll pull the curtain back on this week's Tech Tip. Bill!
Hey!
How are you, sir?
How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing good.
I'm doing good. We, Jinx, you owe me a Coke?
Wow. I haven't heard that since second grade at St. Patrick's Catholic Church in Elkhorn, Wisconsin.
I have little children at home still. One, at least. We
His
loaded
name's
up her
Bill?
card. No, her name is Kate. We loaded up her card today, and she's moving out for good tomorrow. Though Mama said they are invited back.
Okay.
I say they're invited back too,
Okay.
but I don't say it out loud. Yeah, but you know.
Yeah,
Man, my week or so back from where the heck was I? Hallett. So yeah, my drive back was uneventful, and we been basically all crew have been working on the board of directors meeting, which basically happened last night, and went really well. All the feedback has been really good. The board made an announcement that they were thinking of limiting wheel sizes to 18 inches and tire, which would mean that you could run, I think at the max was like a 285 tire, and
right.
The D class cars or the big bore cars, oh man, they led into the board. It was pretty impressive. It shocked me, and not much on the internet shocks me anymore because of my experience with working with groups, and it shocked me that we had one person that said, "Oh, this is a great rule." It was just a Niagara Falls worth of members that said, "No, this isn't the way to go."
Okay.
So the board was shocked, and they made an announcement. They're going to allow the 30 day. They said they keep it up for 30 days and get feedback, and we'd love to hear your feedback on it, and maybe look at another way of doing it for 2024. So
also some significant consternation over the idea of just having electric tools over the wall.
Which is funny because, we had some folks come on there saying electricals should not be allowed over the wall because they cause fires and blah, 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 explosions, and the world will end. It'll stop the world from rotating, especially if you use Pirellis.
You don't.
But, it's you have to be old to remember the Pirelli commercial.
Yeah.
Stopping the world.
So, but let me ask a quick question with that. You guys don't change tires while you're fueling, right?
No. But the question is, if somebody next to you is fueling,
okay,
and you're doing it, and you set off. But we've been using I got my first set of, the battery powered impacts. I want to say 2013, 2014, and that, and I know guys have been using them up down pit lane forever.
Right.
There was only a few teams that were using air. There's a concern that the air, the pro teams show up and they've got all the air tools and these, whatever Magnum guns,
the Thunder guns,
Thunder guns
right,
that spin off those lug nuts at 1,000 miles an hour. It's that kind of, they were concerned about that. I personally don't see an issue with them, but there are some that do. And it is what it is. I think they're cheap now too. You can buy them off of you go to the used NASCAR shops in Mooresville, and you can pick them up, fairly inexpensive.
Yeah. I couldn't find it, but I was trying to. There's a very interesting video that with seeing a spark come off the wheel lug.
Oh yeah.
On an air gun.
Yeah.
It's not the gun itself. It's the spark.
The lug.
It's the lug itself.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can get a spark whenever you've got metal against metal. You can find a way to make a spark.
Oh, you can get a spark just by inserting the hose into your car. So I mean, we've seen that a few times. But yeah, it's that's still being debated, I think. And they haven't officially written the rules.
Right.
So those are released around September for the following year for club review. And folks have to remember that. And we're not, when they release these rules, you need to read them. You need to look them over. And if you have concerns, let them know in September. Don't come out in February and say, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever," and blah blah blah.
Right.
You have 4 months to sort this out. So they'd love feedback like that. And just to let you know, there's some forms and some stuff that I have that I still have to put up on the website pertaining to the board of directors meeting, like how they voted.
Sure.
Chris sent that to me this morning, so I've got to champify it with all the logos and stuff, make it so that it's readable. So I'll get all that done probably within the next week.
Yeah.
Before I head out to California, I'll put all that up too. But yeah, the meeting went really well. We had all the board of directors on our show. Paulie put that on for us, did a real professional job. I thought he did a great job at it. And the board itself didn't go off script like they have in the past, which is great for me because that really screws up the slides, how we do stuff. So
it's all about you, Bill. It's all about
you. It is. Well, you freak out. It's like, that's not what we planned, So, it's, because I have it all right here, where is it? Yeah, right here, what we're doing. And, so, but yeah. And
that's great.
But they did great. We talked about it, basically everything. I droned on for probably way too long for our marketing stuff.
No.
But yeah, that's what I do.
Exactly.
You try to get the most screen time as you can, right?
Absolutely. Anything else on that board meeting before we head off to Watkins Glen here?
It's just it was, you can go see it on YouTube on champcar.live to see the full board meeting in all its glory. Popcorn. Yeah, pop some pop, sit back. There was no infighting. That's great. Though somebody did bring up, one of the board members did bring up there was a question about the number of tools allowed over the wall.
Oh yes, I heard about this.
Yeah, and he said that you could use your torque wrench as a breaker bar, and I went into instant no mode and said, no, that's not what you do. I got yelled at by my boss. This is their meeting. Let them, and I'm sorry about that board, but you don't use a torque wrench for a breaker bar. Yeah. I mean, you can, but you only do it once.
Exactly. And then the car owner or whoever owns that torque wrench will use it to bludgeon you with it.
Yeah.
Because that's all it will be worth after you do that. It won't be worth anything other than to bludgeon someone.
Right. I don't buy my torque wrenches at Harbor Freight. Right. I buy good, solid torque wrenches, and I have in the past got them calibrated.
Right.
But my stepdad was the one that would do that kind of stuff for me, but he's no longer with us, so I don't know where I get it done. Yeah. But there are places out there that do it. But that's it. That was it. It was a good meeting.
All right, Watkins Glen coming up in after when we put this show up.
Actually, coming up. I leave in the morning.
Yeah,
I leave bright and early in the morning.
What do we know about Watkins Glen?
So a lot going on. Yeah, we have it's the Salen's Champ Yard Dog at the Glen. Salen's Hot Dog Company or Packaging Company. They're sponsoring the event for the last few years. And we want to thank them again for being on board. We have 103 cars scheduled. Not everybody has gone through tech yet, so that might drop down. 901 Motorsports, they usually have 2 cars. Unfortunately, they're only bringing 1 car this time. 90 Racing, R-Bank Racing, they do really well at this track. They're showing up with their Saab, the return of the Saab. 90 Racing has been running or R-Bank has been running the Honda for a while now, and they're bringing the Saabs back. Atlanta Speedworks is showing up with a Boxster and a Honda CRX. We got a whole bunch of other folks coming out here. Let's see who else. At Bliss Racing and their Camaro coming out.
Cool. I
race with those guys sometimes. Boston Liners, we haven't seen those guys in a while. They've got 3 cars. They've been a long time Watkins Glen racers with ChampCar. Let's see, Flying Ghost will be out there with 1 car. They've got the BMW 328. Flying Purple People Leaders and their purple Mazda RX-7 will be there. Grit and Grind Racing and their BMW 330 CI, or is it CL? That's a CI. Hammerhead Racing, they're always out there. Hart, Honda of America Racing Team, that is one of the factory Honda cars, will be out there. When I say factory, they're workers and engineers at the Honda factory.
Yeah. That's cool.
Pretty good how we played that, huh?
Yeah.
Haywood Racing will be there with their 2 Miatas. Hound Dogs will be there. They're longtime Champ Car racers, good family team. They'll be out there with their BMW 325. JS Motorsports, Junk Player Special Returns, those guys out of the Ohio area, Nelson Ledges area. They race there a lot. Kwood Racing, they've got a Mazda Miata that'll be there. Cargo Racing, that's always a fun name. Doc always liked that name. Cargo West. Cargo Fast. S-Cargo. Yeah. Laps of Honors there with their Chevy Corvette. They did quite well. Marathon Coach come and our Triple R Motorsport Ranch, they're coming up from South Florida to make this race, MBM Motorsports, and the return of the McKibbin's Biohazard Racing Toyota MR2 V6 2.0. That's the center seated MR2 will be there. We'll see how long that lasts. The last time I were there, they had some serious mechanical issues with the car. I hope Troy does well with it. He did not have a good 2020 or 2021. MDR Motorsports MDR Motorsports will be there. Miscue Motorsports, he just sent me his camera information, and I pass that on to Paulie. And he'll have the Mazda Miata. That's a family team that show up. MLC Racing will have 3 cars. Murray Motorsports will be there. Let's see, who else? Prefect Racing and their Lexus SC300F will be there. I don't know what the F stands for. Punisher will be there. Punisher GP will be there with their Porsche 928. We don't see that many 928s, but this is a team that shows up with one pretty regularly up in the Northeast. Red Barn Racing. And Red Green Racing will be there. You know who Red Green is?
No.
Red Green is like, it's the Canadian version of Home Improvement.
Tim Allen.
Steve Smith. Yeah, kind of like that. But Red Green, it's like a Home Improvement type show, but funny. Oh my goodness, funny. A lot of car action in there. How to fix your car like using duct tape.
Nice.
It's awesome. Like putting 2 cars together with duct tape. Rhinoceros Rossmar Racing is there as well. Scrappy Doo Racing. We don't have very many Mustang GTs there this week, but the Mustang Renegades will be there. Sent from the Gourds. I don't know what that means, but Sent from the Gourds and their 95 BMW 325.
See, now these are the inquiring mind questions that you are tasked with getting answers to when you're at Watkins Glen this weekend, so we can talk about that.
Sounds good. Yep. Simon Says. Now, Simon Says has a record for the amount of wins at the VIR 24.
Oh.
There, I believe 4 or 5 wins. It might be 5.
Cool.
But Simon Says was one of the powerhouses on the East Coast. Now, those guys were younger. They've all gone out and got jobs now. And, I guess they're all engineers or something up in the North Carolina area.
Right.
But they don't do as much racing as they used to. But I'll tell you what, they still end up at the front. And they won a race last year. So those guys are showing up. And they've done quite well at Watkins Glen. Soggy Bottom boys are there. Sparrow Speed Racing, Syndicate Racing Development. Let's see, Team Salem will be there with 3 cars. They bring him back one of their old RX-7s and the charcoal car. Team Salem's Ketchup Boxster and the Team Salem's Mustard Boxster will be there. And those guys, thanks again, guys, for helping to put on this event for us.
Cool.
With your sponsorship.
Well, and I fancy myself as a bit of a hot dog aficionado.
Oh,
I'm from
and
Chicago.
Theirs are good. They have done free hot dog lunches, but because of COVID and some restrictions in New York, we haven't been able to do that. But I'm pretty certain that'll come back one of these days. And I'm going to actually sit down with Will Nonamaker. He actually sent me a bunch of stuff today. We're going to do a little get together with him, and we'll do something probably for an upcoming show with you and I, because there'll be some times where we can't do this because of vacations and stuff. So we'll put that in.
A couple in the can, as they say in the business.
Yes, in the can. Yep. And but we're going to play that live or not live, but we'll play that on the Champ Car live show as well.
Cool. I was just going to say before you go on, let me finish my hot dog plug. Being from Chicago, I've got my favorite hot dog, and I did some time in New York. I call it doing time. And the Salem's hot dogs are definitely right up there with some of the best in the country. So there we go. Yep. And I'm not just saying that because they're paying the bills this weekend.
No, but they're a packaging company too. So they've actually spent a lot of time developing ways of extending the life of a hot dog.
I don't even want to know.
Yeah, it's just the way they freeze them and package them or something.
Something about how you don't want to see how the sausage is made?
Science. It's science.
Sure it is.
Triple R Motorsports Ranch will be there with their Ford Mustang. Twisted Nuts Racing. That's always great to say. Those are the one teams that I love. The Doc would say just out of the Ultimate Lebowski.
Oh,
got to be
yes.
that's got to be your winner. It's a 2002 BMW 325i, and then Visceral Racing. He just posted up. Visceral's our national champion with the 918, or
right.
I think it's a 918 car. They will be there with 3 cars. They have worked constantly since I think getting off the phone with us for our show, and they've got 3 cars ready, and they've got a new car.
Right.
It's a Porsche.
Nice.
And it's a Boxster.
Oh, so cool. So going back to the Lebowski team, you need to get pictures of them wearing their big Lebowski sweaters in the pits. Because if they're not, then I'll be disappointed.
Maybe, or isn't it a bathrobe?
I think it's supposed to be a sweater, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It is. Yeah. Warrior Racing is there with 2 cars. Weeby Racing, the Weiser Blitz Racing Porsche Boxster. That's one of our staff. Yeah, that's David X. We spoke with him earlier this year.
Yeah.
David's there with his Porsche Boxster, and Wilson Daily Racing and Wellwood Garage. So it's a packed field, man. It's going to be a fun race. So and that's a big track. We've got 8 hours or 7 hours. I think it's a 7-7, right?
7-7. I didn't look.
It's a 7. Yeah, I think it's a 7-7 because New York. Remember, folks, that no kids under 18 are allowed on the hot or cold side of the pit lane. So basically, you cannot go on pit. They have to stay in the stands, and I think out of the garages too. But I'm not quite certain on that. But just to hide them.
Follow the rules. Read the subs.
Follow the rules. Yes, really, really important because they have people looking all over the place, and they will stop races if they find groups of kids everywhere. So, but yeah.
Well, we'll have some fun with that. We'll look forward to talking about that next week. You know what time it is, Bill?
It is
Tech time. All right, so I wanted to head out and get my shower scrunchie for this because, this one's got me. I'm going to get some learning going on here because you've got a tech tip having to do with shower curtains.
Yes.
And in my extensive career in motorsports, I have no freaking clue what we're going to use a shower curtain for. So bring it on. I'm ready to learn.
I've been watching a lot of these murder mystery shows, where you just roll people up in the shower curtains. Yeah. No, it's you can either take an old shower curtain, but your wife might get mad.
Is this the diaper story? Are we using this as diapers?
No. You can take an old or even a new shower curtain, and you can use it at the track. How do you use it? Well, let's say you're at a track like Nelson Ledges, or even Carolina Motorsports Park, where the paddock isn't paved; it's grass.
Right.
So you can put the shower curtain on the ground underneath the car that you're working on.
Okay.
For one, you're going to protect the grass from those oil stains dripping out of your car constantly. Yes. the oil dripping out of your car. It's not getting into the well system at the track. It's not killing the grass.
Right.
But most important, and this is from my experience because I don't have a paved driveway. I have a stone driveway.
Okay.
And, we just have a big dump truck come out and lay granite down and done. But when you drop a bolt or screw or that tiny little part.
Good point.
And it goes in between the stones or in the grass. And now it's like looking for that 10 millimeter socket.
Or a wedding ring.
5 minute. Yeah. Or that 5 minute job has now taken 4 hours because you're trying to find those parts. But when you have something.
So do you see what I'm holding up here?
Yes. Did you lose it?
So I don't take this to the racetrack. I'm holding up my wedding ring.
Yeah.
I don't take this to the racetrack anymore. And it has nothing to do with my love for my wife. That's never ending. But I was at a track and I got halfway home and realized that my ring wasn't on my finger. And and this was like 3 months after getting married. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're dead.
I'm dead. And I'm like, do I call her now on the way home and let the steam get off before I get home? Or do I wait till I get home? So it turns out, and the next whole day, we searched the grass in the car all over, everywhere, and nowhere to be found. Turns out, I took it off at the hotel to wash my hands.
Right.
And left it on the sink. And I found the only honest cleaning staff person in all of the hotel. No, I'm just kidding. The cleaning staff person returned it to the hotel management, and I called on Monday morning. I gave them my works FedEx number, and they FedExed it back to me. So I love that idea, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I always instantly put it on my keychain, by the way, because I don't want to do that. I lost my ring thing.
Yeah.
Because that's bad.
I just leave it right here.
Yeah. Don't matter. We've been married 100 years, so there's just no way of explaining that one.
Yeah.
But so you can put it under your car, you protect the ground around you, you can catch parts. It's also, when you're in your, a lot of stuff is on that ground.
Oh yeah.
And you're not getting dirty unless you spill everything on that shower curtain, but you have a couple of them, but you can pick them up at Lowe's and Home Depot, Menards.
I use a 10x10 tarp for that reason.
Yeah.
But with the shower curtain, if you get it mucked up, it's like $5. You throw it away and get a new one. So I like that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can get them from the dollar store too, which is really cheap.
Yeah.
So
that's a great idea. All right. Now I like it. I like it. Good tech tip.
And, even at, when you're changing fluids and stuff, that it just makes it easier. There's a lot of tracks that we go to where, they just laid down the paddock,
right?
The blacktop on the paddock. And everybody freaks out about, not spilling oil, not spilling fuel.
Right.
And, using jack stands with plywood underneath it so that your jack stand doesn't sink into their newly laid blacktop.
Yeah.
And you could do the same thing. Just shove the plastic down there and you change your fluids and you don't,
The other thing you can do is if it's pouring rain out, you can cut it in half and then put a hole in it, and you can wear it as a poncho.
You could. And when it is raining and you have to work under your car, it's nice to get on something dry.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, cool.
Especially in your race suit, because we're all race mechanics.
Right.
The guys on that racing champ car. I mean, there's some the arrive and drives that don't ever handle a wrench, but when you're in the middle of a race and you've got to get under your car and you're still in your suit because you're still in your suit.
Right.
Just get on that. Just get on throw some plastic on.
What a great idea.
Cheap, so.
All right. See, I told you I was going to learn something today.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
A lot of uses. You can, when it's raining and you got your driver, instead of having an umbrella girl standing there with him, you could just throw it over it. Or the guy that's just talking too much, you could just put it over his face, tighten it down with a couple of zip ties. I'm kidding. Don't do that at our race.
Speaking from experience, Bill?
Yeah.
I could tell. I bet you Paulie has wanted that to happen a couple of times over the last couple of years.
Not just Paul, but Troy. I don't know if I can do it that way, man.
Oh, good stuff. All right. I think it's time to get to break. And then on the other side, what a fun conversation with Joe White.
Joe White.
I finally got the answer to my burning question of what does Basil Weenie Racing mean?
Yeah.
And
as Ray says, our head of tech, when Ray says that he is one of the most unassuming guys in the paddock.
Right.
But he is one of the smartest and just brilliant at what he does with the race cars.
Nice guy. And he popped up on the screen with a whole podcaster audio setup, too, which I was like, wow, this is cool. I love that.
Yeah.
A fellow podcaster. So.
And a nice mic, too. I'm going to get that mic.
Well, I've got one of them. You got the same exact thing? We got it right here. It's awesome stuff. Yep. All right, we're going to do that when we come back. Joe White will join us on Inside ChampCar. Stay with us.
Every race weekend, you don't know what's going to happen. But with ChampCar.live, all the action comes right into your living room. The ChampCar Endurance Series is North America's home to real competitive endurance road racing. And ChampCar.live brings you live, full race coverage with in-car, trackside cameras, interviews, and expert commentary. And ChampCar.live brings you live, full race coverage with in-car and trackside cameras, interviews, and expert commentary. Check out ChampCar.live on the web, subscribe, and ring the bell so as not to miss a single minute of the action. It's fun, free, informative, and it's just a click away. ChampCar.live. Come check us out. We bring you a front row seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Hi, I'm Kip Sebring. When I'm on my way to the race, I listen to Inside ChampCar podcast.
Welcome back to Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Polanski. He's Bill Strong. And joining us right now is think Bill called him one of the real characters of ChampCar. Joe White.
I don't know if I'm one of the characters of ChampCar. Been around it for quite a while. Hello, Brian. Hello, Bill.
Hello. This is Joe White.
That's
from
right.
Basil Weenie Racing.
So
Joe,
the real reason you're here, Joe, is because I said to Bill, I said, "What is the story behind this Basil Weenie Racing name?" And then,
yeah, you've struggled with that some, I think, over the broadcast.
Well, that's Paulie. Paulie calls it Basil Weenie only because of what was that the comedy show in England with Basil?
Not sure I know. There used to
Yeah.
Anyway,
British actor Basil Rathbone.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Way back in the day.
So anyway, he kept on talking about Basil Weenie Racing, and we've got some great names of team names. My favorite, of course, is Freddie Mercury Racing.
Uh-huh.
But I was like, what's up with? We've got to get them on just so I can find out what is the history behind the name Basil Weenie. So give it to us.
Well, it has to do with the team owner.
Okay.
Yeah, Basil Weenie is my dachshund.
Okay.
Basil. His name is Basil, and he's the team owner.
And he's a weenie dog.
He is a weenie dog.
Okay.
So Basil Weenie Racing.
Well, that story's not nearly as sexy as I was hoping for.
No.
So Doc Waldrop and Paulie Feltham, Basil Faulty from Faulty Towers. That's why they would always say Basil Weenie.
Yeah, they would always say Basil rather than Basil.
Right.
Of course, I have a Southern accent, so I tend to pronounce things that way.
Okay. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, I really was hoping that was a much more elaborate story, but that's okay. We can go. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. I'm just kidding.
All right. Have a nice evening, guys. See you later.
But Basil Weenie, they've been involved with ChampCar from the beginning.
Right.
Pretty much.
And before that, what did you do with racing? Or what did you do for a job? Because you're a real technical guy, aren't you?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You're like an engineer, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm an electrical engineer. I've been an electrical engineer for 50 years.
Cool.
But I've always had an interest in cars, growing up, early days, high school. I wouldn't have had a car if I hadn't figured out how to buy and build one back in that era. I kind of stayed with that. I do my own car work and stuff. I almost never take a car into the shop. But I mean, that kind of progressed over the years. And when I moved to Texas, that's when it kind of grew. I was divorced by then, and had a little more spending money available to me.
How did that work?
I say usually it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Well, it took a little while to build that back up. Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to get personal, but
believe me, it went to zero. It went to zero, but then it came back up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know how that goes?
Yeah.
The shaft thing.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, I started working for a company here in Austin, and they eventually brought in a new CEO, and that CEO was a racer. He was a seasoned SCCA racer. Lynn Gilmore was his name.
Okay.
And Lynn had a Camaro, a GP1 Camaro that he had raced in Trans Am SCCA Pro Racing back when they were still doing pro racing in SCCA. And he had brought that car to Austin and wanted to start campaigning again. Well, he found out I was kind of a car guy, and I worked with him every day very closely. We got along pretty well. And so he needed help. And so we started campaigning that car in SCCA. This was an era when Texas World Speedway over in College Station was in full-blown operation. There were quite a few events being scheduled there in that era, mostly SCCA events. But NASA, I don't think, had quite come along when we started.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think any of the amateur endurance racing series had started
Right.
No, that didn't. That didn't start till about 2008, 2009 with Lemon.
That's right. And we were doing this in maybe 04, 05 is when we started over there. We traveled around a little bit. He had a lot of pressing job responsibilities, so we couldn't do any real long distance travel. So let's say the majority of our events were either there at Texas World or Texas Motor or down at MSR in Houston.
For a long time, Texas World was kind of the premier road course in Texas, right? That was the creme de la creme, right?
Oh my goodness! Oh, absolutely. They had turned that. It was an oval to begin with. It had been a NASCAR track back in the '60s. It fell out of usage, and I'm not sure exactly when that started, but they started repurposing the track to be more of a road course. So they added quite a lengthy section that extended. There was a flat area behind the track, and they extended the track over.
Oh, so you left the track. You left.
Oh yeah,
the track.
you left. Yeah, you left. You left the oval itself. Now they had a variety of different ways you could run the track. To my knowledge, they never ran it as an oval. I don't think you could even run it as an oval because the asphalt was in pretty bad shape up on the high banks.
Right.
Okay.
So the road courses were laid out primarily to use the apron of the track.
So it's kind of like New Hampshire, where it utilizes like 1.5 or like half of the oval, and then goes outside on the back stretch, does its thing, and then comes back in.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did at Texas World. They went out the back and then came back in.
Right.
Yeah, that's the way. Because I raced at New Hampshire, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
you had that big bowl that you dive into and come out.
Yeah,
and then I did some what do they call those back in the day? Solo one.
Okay.
Did a solo one at Phoenix International Raceway where they had an outside part too.
Sure.
They did. They actually did an IMSA race there. The what do you call those? The big guns.
Okay.
Actually, that class is coming back. I forget what they called that back then.
Yeah, the GTP class. Yeah.
GTP. Yeah, GTP ran that.
So
I'm sorry. Yeah, another thing that we did, Texas Motor up in Fort Worth, which is primarily a NASCAR track. They have an infield course. You don't go outside of the track, but you go inside the track, and there's a little bit of a road course in the infield. It's not very good. They haven't, to my knowledge, they haven't had any amateur endurance races up there in several years, but we raced up there in SCCA a couple of times, and there was at least one or two champ events up there, Bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the Texas Motor Speedway road course is kind of like the Roval at Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
And except probably not as extensive as the one at Charlotte. They've done a better job at Charlotte with their Roval.
Yeah. Interesting. So how did you get involved with, I guess, first Lemons and then at the time ChampCar?
Well, another thing that had kind of developed with my SCCA involvement is I was starting to kind of watch the spec Miatas, because that class had come into being as a regional class. It wasn't a national class at that time.
Right.
But they were fielding sometimes at Texas World and Texas Motor. They'd have 50, 60 cars show up for that.
Oh, wow.
And I had some buddies that were involved in it. I thought I wanted one of those cars. Almost bought one, but I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. But at that same time, it was really interesting. A buddy of mine gave me a Miata. Never had one before in my life, never driven one, never sat in one, nothing. This buddy of mine gave me one. It had a bad crankshaft, which is a problem with the early ones. And I fixed that car and kind of fell in love with working on them. And I started buying and selling Miatas. I'd find, one with a problem, something like that, buy it, fix it, sell it. And then I started building motors for Miatas for low dollar kind of street motors. And one of my buddies, or one of my friends here in Austin, bought one of those motors for me and put it in his Lemons car.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was a Lemons and Chump. At the time, it was Chump. Combined Lemons Chump car. And there was a ChampCar event here in Austin at Harris Hill. That must have been about 2009, 2010 at the very latest. And Jack invited me to come to that event because he was going to put that motor I had sold him in his car. That was Bill, you probably remember the Lemonada. Did you ever?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. I remember
that was Jack Kinkle's car, the Lemonada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's the culprit. He's the guy that really got me into amateur endurance racing in a probably too big of a way, quite honestly.
All of us have that person, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's you know, that guy for you, or you know, it's everyone's got that person. Bill Suloff, I don't know if you know that name. He races out of Pennsylvania now. He does GTI Golf GTIs. He got me messed up with this endurance racing thing. So we all have that guy.
Yeah, there's that guy you want to strangle, right?
Yeah, exactly. To this day. And with Bill, and I'm speaking out of class, but it has nothing to do with actually endurance racing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to get in line, buddy. Get in line.
There you go. I'm sure I have people who want to strangle me too. So
anyway, I went to that event, and there was some of my other racing friends that were involved. They had a different car. And so, you know, it turned out I had several friends that were involved in the stuff. And of course, that just kept sucking me in. And finally I said, okay, I'm going to have a car. And I got to looking around and found a car here locally that a guy had built for SCCA as an ITA car, which at the time and still is pretty close to specifications, especially for a champ car.
Yep.
I mean, I think you could run an ITA car today without doing anything to it.
Yeah, you can. There's just some
tires.
Yeah, and they've got some other suspension stuff that some of us wish that they'd allow, but in coolers and stuff like that. But you got to take all that off. But yeah, I think ITA is probably the closest class to what runs in champ car. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is that
anyway,
the E30?
Yeah, they're heavy, but yeah, you can lighten it up.
What was the question about the E30?
I say, was that the E30 you're referring to, the ITA car?
No, that was a Miata.
Oh, okay, okay.
That was the number. Well, it was always been the number six. It's always been a 6 car. It was a 6 car even when it was an SCCA car.
Right. Okay.
No, the BMW came later. The E30 came a little bit later.
Okay.
Because we raced that ITA car. Actually, it raced as an EC car for the first season.
Was that because of your engine?
I think it was because I didn't know enough to figure out that we could race it, even if we had to take a penalty lap or two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. Well, let's see. The rules were a little more stringent then.
Yeah,
you couldn't. Yeah, the rules were a little more stringent. So
we had the dollar amounts back then. You had $500 to spend,
but it was over 500. It was definitely over 500.
And back then you could sell parts off your car, and unfortunately, Miata, you couldn't get very much money for those parts. Some of the guys that had the BMWs and stuff could sell the parts off the car and pretty much get the cars. They'd sell the glove box and get what they paid for the car back on it.
Probably.
Yeah,
because they were German.
Yeah.
So we raced that car for a season or two, and of course, some of my buddies wanted to drive with me, so I acquired a team along the way. And none of us had ever really driven in any kind of competition before. So we started going to HPDEs, did several of those around to kind of gain some driving skill. And we did a couple of Lemons events, a couple of ChampCar events. And one day we were at a ChampCar event at Hallett. And for some reason, I had not paid that much attention. I guess I was more concerned with what we were doing than what other people were doing. I wasn't paying too much attention to the cars that really were competitive, because certainly we were not competitive back in that era. I started looking at, well, what's winning races? And we were at Hallett, and they had a really good turnout for that particular event. And I'm telling you, there were probably 10 or 12 E30s in the field for that event. And I was kind of watching that. It's like, wait a minute, those cars have an advantage, but we couldn't begin to keep up with them. And nor could any other Miata begin to keep up with them in that era.
Right.
And I told Trice Humpert, that's one of my drivers, one of my best buddies, I said, Trice, I want to build an E30. And so that led to the E30, the number 99 car.
And I remember that car well.
Yeah, that was a good car. We won a lot of events in that car. That was our most successful car, quite honestly.
And being on the East Coast, you know, we'd only see you at certain events, and it's like you'd forget. You know, it's like, oh, God, there's that 99 car, and they're just gonna,
Yeah, and the way I'd done the exhaust on that car, it had dual pipes, so it was like a pair of threes.
All right.
The exhaust was like a pair of threes, which I don't know if anybody else does that, but it gave it a very unique exhaust sound, because I'd have people come over and say, man, that car sounds really good.
Yeah, a real high-pitched sound to it.
Real high-pitched sound.
Yeah, and it made it, as you passed us in our MR2, which, you know, as you passed us, it was just like, man, a car, it got to have something cheaty, because it just sounds cheaty.
It wasn't. Not particularly.
Yeah, well, you know,
probably no more than anybody else's.
Yeah, like our car. But yeah, you know, but it was but yeah, that was fun back then racing you guys, because you guys were quick.
Yeah, we took that car on the road quite a bit, because we went to Road America one year. We won at Road America one year. And Watkins, I don't remember if we won, but we placed really well. We placed. I
remember that.
We were there several times.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, the level of competition has clearly gone up since that era. So I think if we took that car the way it was and put it back, you know, in today's fields, it would not do as well as it did back in that era.
I mean, even my car isn't even competitive nowadays to that.
It's, you know, people keep.
Well, that has a lot to do with the driver, though.
Plus, the other thing too is the aero has made such a huge difference.
Yep.
And we never tried to do any aero on the E30. It's actually pretty difficult to do on the E30, because they're such a freaking boxy car.
Right. Now you've played with the aero on the Miata. You have a hard top on the top. You have a nice, cool little lip spoiler on the back of the car that actually works. I think. Yeah,
we need more though.
Testing.
No, we got to have more than that. It's not enough. That gurney flap is not enough.
Because you did some testing, didn't you? At Harris Hill one time, you took it off.
Oh, it definitely
was like. They got mad at you.
Oh, they said, "Yeah, put it back on right now."
Yeah.
But compared to a car that has full aero, a Miata that has full aero, that has a nice high wing and a good splitter in front, we definitely cannot compete in the turns, especially.
Right. Do you have points to do that with your because you now run an Ecotech in that?
Well, actually, I have enough points that I could go to the full aero. We've talked about it,
right?
Because I claim the points now for what Piddly aero.
Oh yeah, okay.
On the
so
car.
It would be there anyway. Yeah,
you can put as big an aero on as you want at the, the points that we are accumulating for that.
Right.
So aero is points whether it's a wing the size of a Formula 5000 car or whether it's just a tiny little gurney.
Yep. 10. Yep. Well, the gurneys are just part of the aero. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So if it can't, most of the 9 Lives wings have a little slide in there. If you can slide a gurney, different size gurneys into their wing, and clamp it off. But yeah.
So
that's go ahead.
Depending on where things go, that would be the next step for this car. Now, guys, you got to understand, I've been in this a long time, and I'm getting up in years, and I don't drive anymore. So I'm really trying to focus more on working with other teams, helping them, partnering with them. And it may be that I don't do a whole lot more development on my own car.
So was that hard getting out of the car and going to the prep side, or was that better for you?
No, I was such a poor driver. That was really easy. It didn't take much.
I respect a guy who knows their lot in life.
Yeah,
I'm not that person, you know. I know I'm not the best driver, but gosh darn it, I'm going to keep trying.
Yeah. I just felt like I was detracting from the rest of the team. Because I was probably generally the worst, the slowest. So it's like, time to get out of the car and let these guys race it.
And they do, and Basil Weenie has done really, really well with that number 6 Miata.
Yeah, it's hung in pretty good. I mean, we're not necessarily a front runner, but we tend to be pretty reliable. And, you start looking, here's the way I figure it. For this type of endurance racing, you don't have to be the fastest car on the track, but you do have to be the fastest car on the track when the checkered flag race.
Exactly.
Right. You got to be there. And so if you can be, looking at best lap times, and that's what I typically do, on Race Monitor, Race Hero, whatever I'm looking at, if you're in the top 5, maybe 10, depending on how many cars are in the event. If you're in top 5, top 10, as far as your lap times, maybe you're a second, 2 seconds off, you're in the running. Now, if you're 5 seconds off or 10 seconds off, you're not in the running. But do you see it that way, Bill?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
It is. And it's, I think, historically, like some of these longer races that we've done, the 12, 14, 24 hours, we've had teams that never put down the fastest laps of the race, but they just were there at the end. And it just consistency and they good pit stops. And that's something you guys are really good at, good pit stops, consistency. And your drivers don't get into trouble. Well, except for Trice last year at Hallett, took a 4-wheel drive excursion with the help of another car.
He got a little help with that.
His adrenaline at the end of that was off the charts. He got pushed off by another car.
Right.
And
I don't think you really want to listen to the in-car video, the audio from the in-car video. It's definitely
you're busy
not for the faint of heart or small children.
I think we had that on the show too, and it was Paulie's the whole time just like apologizing.
Where's the mute button? So to your point, though, you were talking about not having to have the fast car. At Hallett, you were running in the 29s, and there were about 5 cars running in that 29, 28 area.
Yep.
Yes, there were.
But if you look at you, who won on Sunday, and then the next car on the finishing sheet here on the results,
the Boxster,
was but if you look at the next car in the 29s or 28s, they were in 8th.
The Boulder team,
right?
The Boulder
team.
Yeah.
So and
they had to make an extra fuel stop. Didn't they?
The Boulder guys, that's an Ecotec car also, and they've got more of a power tune in their ECU,
right?
In fact, they acquired that car from Jerry Inger.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you know that, Bill, probably.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And they have not figured out yet how to run a full stint with that car.
Right.
Yeah.
They can only do I think they told me they could do an hour 25.
Yep.
And it's going to be very hard to win races.
Right.
If you can only run an hour 25 on it.
Because it's a 5-minute pit stop.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, it's a 5. Once you come in for fuel, once that fuel cap comes off, it's 5 minutes. You have to stay in pit lane, and that's from the entering pit lane to exiting pit lane.
Right. So the point I was going to make though is that the cars 2 through 7 were all in the 31 to 37 range. So as you were saying, that proves your point very very. Positively, that you don't have to be the fastest car to finish up front in these races, as long as you don't run into problems. You get your 5-minute pit stops done without having to go to 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 minutes, and you stay out of trouble. And that's I think that's one of the charms about ChampCar is that, you know, you don't have to be at the pointy end of the stick as far as speed goes to still be competitive, right?
Yeah, well, it is endurance racing.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole nature of endurance racing, I believe.
Now, Joe, you talk about endurance racing. You're wearing a shirt that says the 37.
I am.
You ran in that 37-hour race.
I did.
Not ran, but you drove in that 37.
I did.
What was that? What was that like?
Horrible. It was the most awful thing ever.
Yeah, let me preface this. So, when John, I think it was John Condren, the founder.
John was there. I remember I remember getting called up to talk to John.
So John puts on he wants to set a world record, longest endurance races ever. I think they started out with a 36. The first one was like a 35 or 36-hour race, and then we progressed up. I think the longest is a 38-hour, and that was in Florida, like the following year.
I think the next year was the last one.
Yeah. About 37 hours. And I just thought I think some of my guys my drivers were they love those long endurance races. Of course, they're just driving.
Right.
And all I could think about when they said this was, oh my God, the fuel cost. Oh my God, how many hubs am I going to need? Oh my God, how much? Yeah, it was I just thought of the cost was just insane to do one of those races. Because basically two races.
The worst part about it is we took 2 cars.
Oh, Jesus.
We had 2 cars at that event. I had sold the number 6 Miata to Jack Hinkle, of all things. So I didn't have the Miata anymore, but I had the 99 E30. But Jack decided he wanted to do the 37 with us. So we combined forces and took the 6 Miata and the 99 E30 to that event. And then we lined up a bunch of drivers. I don't remember how many had, but they all got sick.
Oh
boy.
They're back at the hotel sick. And we only ended up with like a handful. I think we only had 3 or 4 drivers for 2 cars. It was terrible. It was terrible. Well, I'm going to tell a story, even though it's an admission of a degree of cheating. So we're short of drivers. And of course, the weather for this thing was absolutely miserable. I mean, it was cold, rainy, blowy. Eagles Canyon, Texas is next to the North Pole. Let me tell you, there's nothing between Eagles Canyon and North Pole. And so if that cold wind wants to blow, it's cold. Yeah. So anyway, we're freezing to death and all this, that, and the other. And I could go into a lot of detail about it. But anyway, Keith Milliken's in the 99 E30, and it's cold, slick. You can only drive about half speed. And so he got to the end of his 2 hours. Well, he didn't have any other driver. They were all back at the hotel sick. I don't remember exactly what happened. I said, okay, Keith, well, just keep on going. How much gas you got? And he said, oh, still got about a half tank on the gauge. And I said, all right, well, just keep going. So he did. And I think he came in at about 3 hours and 45 minutes, something like that. And we did a driver change and went on back out. Well, in the meantime, I got Mike Morrison came down. He said, Joe, a team complained that you guys perhaps overran the 2-hour limit on driver. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah, John Condren would like to talk to you guys. So I went up there with Perry. And I said, Perry, we are going to be the stupidest guys on the face of the earth when we get up there. So I got up there and he was smiling. He was all nice and everything. And went over and talked to timing and scoring. And they said, you guys ran 3 hours and 45 minutes. Of course, I didn't admit to it.
Yeah.
I said, well, I don't know. Trice is in the car now, and he's been managing the drivers. I really don't know what had happened. And I'll admit, I told Keith to keep on going. Okay. So I'm admitting to this. But at the time, it's like, deny. And John Condren leaned over and said, you guys couldn't possibly have gone 3 hours and 45 minutes on a tank of gas. So I knew right then we were in the clear when John said that. So something must have happened here, but okay, it's all right. Well, we'll let it go. So, they let it go. Yeah. Well, we didn't. That car broke in the last 3 or 4 hours of the event. We knocked a hole in the oil pan the night before, because I'm telling you, cars were running more off the track than they were on the track.
Oh, really?
Night. It was so freaking cold and slippery. Cars were going off constantly. In fact, I think the flag people gave up. I don't think there was anybody even out. Well, you couldn't stand it. It was so freaking cold.
I had heard rumors that maybe there may not have been flag people out there.
I don't think there were. I think they gave up.
That's kind of those things you hear, but you never really talk about.
Oh no, I believe that's true. I'm pretty sure it's true, because I was there for the whole damn thing. So anyway, we knocked a hole in the oil pan. Well, we caught it in time and took it down to the garage, and JB welded that crack in the oil. It just cracked the bottom of the BMW E30 has got a flat cast aluminum pan. So we JB welded that as best we could and put something on to heat it to make it set. And it ran another 12 hours like that.
Oh, wow.
That's a commercial for JB Weld.
And then it finally let go.
Well, except for that part.
With Trice. I think it was about, it might have been only 2 hours ago. It still finished. I think we still finished 10th in that car.
Oh, wow. Still.
Wow.
Overall. And the Miata finished 3rd on that event. It ran all the way to the end. It was slow. Because those guys, who was it? The guys with the Saabs. Who are they?
Oh, 90, Robin Bank.
Yeah. I mean, they were driving like the track was dry. They were the only car on the track that could actually drive. Everybody else was just skating.
Was that an all-wheel drive Saab? Is that why?
No, front-wheel drive.
Okay.
The 99s.
I don't know what they had done to that car, but it really.
Well, they have no weight in them. They are as light as you can get it with. They're Pennsylvania cars, so they're probably just rust. Yeah. Rust is light. Is light. It's like aerated metal.
That's awesome.
I mean, they'd lap us about every 10 laps or something like that. Yeah. I mean, and everybody else. I mean, they were way faster than any other car on the track. But anyway.
So you won Sunday at Hallett. What's in the future for Basil Weenie? Where are you guys going next? Basil. See, now you even said it. I can't say it right now. What's up next? What's the rest of the season look like for Basil Weenie Racing?
I've been talking around to see what we want to do next. Of course, we missed Ozark. I'd like to have gone up there. We'd probably do that next year. I think I'm going to be working more with John Babot and his 93 NC car, Lone Star Racers, because I've been working with them a lot in the past. I think we're going to do some events in the fall, but we're not sure yet. Have they put is Laguna on the schedule yet?
No,
Bill?
Laguna. No, we're not putting Laguna on this year.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about that and then discovered it wasn't on the schedule.
There, Nelson Ledges got to do the longest day, man.
No, we won't do that again. Never.
Well, it would be a short day to the 37.
Compared to the 37, that's kind of like an extended
day.
It's
a sprint race.
Not to make fun of other series, but did you see that thing? SCCA had a 24 hours up there, something up there just recently. Did you know how many cars they had?
Yeah, we won't talk about it. I know. I won't say anything because we don't have that many cars either up there. So, but it is what it is, and
it
right
is
now,
what it is.
Yeah, right now racing is it's hard to get racers in certain areas of the country. So,
well, that's going to be an ongoing problem. I mean, with gas. Traveling from here to Hallett and back. We spent almost $600 just in gas for my truck.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting ready to go to California here next week, and for the Willow Springs event, I have to haul out the Flagtronics gear for us, and some other race gear for Dana, and we're expecting some big diesel prices because I have a diesel Ram. So, but that's 600 miles on a tank is still pretty good compared to our ambulance, which is I think it was like 300 miles, 250, 300 miles on 40 gallons. So it gets expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's going to be a factor ongoing, I think.
Yep. So,
but and I think that had something to do with the moderate turnout at Hallett, quite honestly.
Yeah, I know it did. So
yeah, I think that's going to be a problem for all racing series for the next, for the foreseeable future until things start to get back into.
I think we pull in a miles per gallon class. We'll give them like 30 gallons and say, all right, this will last you 7 hours. Can you do it?
They have an event like that down at our local track, Harris Hill.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick any car you want to pick, street car.
Right.
Yeah.
And you race on one tank of gas. And the object is who can go the furthest. What kind of a car can you pick?
Is there a minimum speed that you have to be at?
That I don't know for sure. We haven't ever run in it, so I don't know. But I know they run that event every year.
I'll just drive around at 10 miles per hour for as long as I can.
Figure out a way to take a V6 and only have, alternating cylinders light up and try and save as much fuel as you can.
Or maybe a Prius or something like that. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Joe, it's been great. Thank you.
Well, guys, it's been a lot of fun. I'd be willing to do it again if you ever want to do it.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Otherwise, we'll be looking forward to seeing you guys at the next event, especially you, Bill.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
He didn't mean that, Bill. He just said
that with
be
tongue
nice.
in cheek.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had my fingers crossed.
Tongue firmly placed in cheek. All right, folks. That's Joe White.
Guys.
He's here with us from Basil Weenie Racing. I think I got it right this time.
You got it.
There we go. When we come back, I have no idea what we're going to talk about because I haven't figured it out yet, but we will do something else when we come back after this break. You're listening to Inside ChampCar on the Racing Wire Podcast Network.
Inside ChampCar is a podcast that takes a deep dive into all things going on with the ChampCar Endurance Series. Hosted by veteran journalist, radio host, and racer Brian Belansky and ChampCar's very own Bill Strong, we talk to drivers, team bosses, tech gurus, and series supporters. Episodes air every week in time for you to listen on your way to the track. Inside ChampCar is on the Racing Wire Podcast Network, found on Apple, Spotify, Google, and most popular podcasting apps.
Welcome back. This is Inside ChampCar. He is
Wild Bill in the morning.
Oh, and I'm falling asleep, Brian, in the evening.
I'd shake it up there for a second.
I know you caught me off guard. Are we doing some sort of crazy DJ show?
We need horns. Beep, beep.
I don't have that on this section of buttons here. So anyway, great conversation with Joe White there. What a cool guy.
He is, man. He is, and that whole team is pretty cool. They're pretty laid back until they're winning, and it's there's a big great fight. There's not a fight,
right? But a battle.
Battle going on out on the track, and those guys are pretty intense. And we've caught him passing under yellow a couple of times over the years, and man, it's just we're in their face, they're in our face. Yeah, it's fun. It's what makes it fun at the track.
Good stuff. All right, so we've got after Watkins Glen now. Looking ahead a little further, you're coming out by me. I'm actually going to see Bill in person at Willow Springs.
I don't know. We might. I don't think we're going to do what we planned on doing.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a staffing thing issue going on.
Well, I'm still going to come out and say hi.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, we'll see. Yeah, that would be good.
I'm still coming up for a little bit.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So Bill's coming out here for Willow Springs, I guess, right? And then you've got another race the same weekend at Autobahn, right?
Autobahn. Yep. We're at Autobahn June 17th through 19th, and that's the track day on. I believe they have a track day on that day.
Right.
And then June 17th through 19th, we're at Willow Springs as well with a track run practice day. Willow Springs is going to be 140 degrees, just like last year.
Right.
Probably a little bit of oven wind coming off the desert.
Yes.
And then
it's never not windy at Willow Springs, by the way.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm learning that now.
Last year with 114 degrees, it was probably the hottest I've ever been in. I lived in Phoenix for a while. It was hot out there, but I don't think it ever hit 114, 115.
Yeah.
But the wind just made it hot. And it was one of those, you cook inside.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can describe it. And it took me about a week or so to get back to normal. It was that hot out there. But the worst part was when we went came off the mountain, because it's in the mountains.
Yeah, it's
the high desert.
It's the high desert, yes.
Yeah. So when we came down into LA, it was 64 degrees or 66. It was crazy.
Yeah, because we have June gloom here. So there's no sun, or not as much sun in the mornings here.
It was foggy.
Yeah. So
and then I actually when I leave Willow Springs, I'm hauling tail to Carolina Motorsports Park, where we'll be putting on an 8+7 hour. We have a lot of cars signed up for that one at the Carolina Grand Prix at CMP.
Nice.
And then also we have the same weekend, we have the Shannonville Raceway going on in Shannonville, Ontario. That's Canada, not Ontario, California.
Canada.
Yep. And that's presented by Perry's Performance and Competition. We're looking for more entries to that race, guys. Shannonville's a pretty fun track to race at. Down, it's right above Thousand Lakes, New York. Just right over the border there. Boom, you're there.
Interesting.
And fun track. Been there a few times with MR2s.
So, because I don't know, do a lot of the U.S. drivers cross the border to go race up there?
Well, they did, but we had this closure due to some
right.
thing. Yeah. But yeah, we used to have a lot go over, and a lot of their guys come down to us to race. So.
Yeah, we I made the trip up once to race at Mosport, so I get that whole. But
Troy goes up there a lot. My buddy Troy.
Yeah.
They love that track. I've never been to Mosport.
Yeah,
but
it's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool, and it's as my friends in Boston would say, it's wicked fast.
Yeah, they say it's a little scary. You really have to trust your equipment.
Yeah.
Much like Ozarks. Whenever you ask somebody about Ozarks, they would always mention something about Mosport would come in there.
Yeah.
As that's because it doesn't look that scary when you look at it on the map.
There's a couple of corners that are really fast and can be bad if you don't do them right.
I mean, we're at Mosport. Actually, when is that? Later I think we're in the fall, beginning of fall. We're at Mosport.
Okay.
We're out there. Yep. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park is what it's called.
Yeah, I know.
We're there October 8th and 9th.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Anything else before we head out of this one? Because this was a good show. It's going to be a big one.
Yep. Wait, do I have anything?
I don't think so.
No, I don't have anything. We'll see you guys next Tuesday from here.
You'll be home by then?
So I'll be home, yeah. And then I'll leave right after that to head west.
Oh my goodness.
I'm actually leaving a week early. I'm going to stop by see my father.
Nice.
He's coming up on really old, so I want to say hi to him. So he's more active than I am.
We won't tell him you called him old, but that's okay.
Oh, call him old all the time. The old man.
Oh, good stuff. All right, that's going to do it. Before Bill gets himself in any more trouble, I'm going to get us out of this one. That's going to do it for another episode of Inside ChampCar. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any episodes. It would also be great if you share it on your social media channels. You could leave a comment on the ChampCar Facebook page. If it's not a good comment, just go to Bill's personal page and fill that sucker up. I'm Brian Polanski. He's Bill Strong. This is Inside ChampCar on the Racing Wire Podcast Network.